Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the 0 to 100k challenge where I take a brand new KDP account starting from absolutely scratch, hopefully up to $100,000 in just 1 year. In this video, I'm going to be showing you just how well we did in the month of June. So I'm going to be showing our overall royalties, our overall ad spend in each different country, and then our overall profit. And the royalties and profits are really starting to climb up now, so I'm excited to show you these results. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the month of October, so if you are enjoying this content and you want to see more of it, then please do hit that subscribe button. Now, we started off June with 13 books published, and over the course of the month, we were sadly only able to publish one new book, which brings the total number of books after 6 months or halfway in the challenge to 14. Although we only published one new book in this month, and that is obviously less than we would like to, we actually worked really hard this month and it was very productive. I would just say is the books that we've been working on recently take a little bit longer, take a bit more time, a bit more effort and editing and stuff to get them ready. Now, that being said, we do actually have two books at the end of June that are pretty much ready to make. We're just sort of doing a few more tweaks on the cover. So they're going to be up in July and they should be really exciting books that should hopefully sell really well in the future. Now, as you'll know, we've pretty much solely focused on medium content throughout this challenge so far, and neither of us are writers. But that being said, in June, I have actually started to have a crack at writing my own high content. This is something that I have done a few times in the past. I've written two high content books myself, and they've had some decent success. And it's a niche that I really think could be very profitable, and it's going to build on nicely from some other books that we've made. So I really want to give it a go. I'm about 10,000 words out of sort of 20,000 or so in total words through the book so far. So hopefully, sort of at the end of July, start of August, that book will be coming out, and I'm really excited to see how that book will sell because I'm going to be putting a lot of hours into it. So on to the fun part of the video, and that is of course the royalties. Now, last month, the month before this, we sold about $1,800, maybe want a little bit more than that. And the previous months in that, we'd sort of been increasing by about $500 or $600 every month. So we were sort of hoping to sell about $2,300, $2,400 this month, but luckily we absolutely smashed that target and managed to sell almost $3,000, $2,884. We're obviously really happy with these numbers. It's almost getting to that point where it's $100 a day. And what makes these results even better is that the printing costs actually changed on the 20th of June, which meant that for the last 10 days of the month, we were actually getting less royalties, as was everyone else on our books. So this makes the results even better. And I think if the printing costs hadn't changed, we actually would have been on course to make about $3,000. But, the change isn't huge. There definitely were some good things that came for this printing cost change for us, and that is that we actually upped our price on pretty much all of our books. And I think that's something that I myself and a lot of other authors are scared to do, is to play around with the price, because you really think that an extra pound or an extra dollar here and there is going to change the amount of units ordered by a lot of your customers. But to be honest, we've barely noticed any difference in the amount of orders that we've been getting. We've been getting way more royalties. So you'll notice when we do the detailed book breakdown, that we've been getting some really, really high royalties, over $4 on a lot of our books, which has really helped us to increase this overall royalty amount. Here's the graph for all of June. Now, if you remember, I think in the previous months combined, we'd had about 3 or 4 days that were over $100. And here in June, it was a very, very regular thing for us to have $100 days, with us having so even $150 day here, and having multiple other days over $120. Of course, there are still quite big fluctuations of it, sort of ranging between $60 and $150. But that is because we don't actually have that many books out still in the grand scheme of things. And the more we can build our bookshelf up, then the less fluctuations there's going to be. So here is the book by book sales breakdown. So as you can see at the top, we have our $2,884. Now of this, $88 was ebooks, but pretty much all of these books bar one are medium content books. So of course they're going to sell much better as a paperback format. Then we had $15 in Kemp royalties. That is how many Kindle pages were read for free by the other people. I'm very happy with these ebook royalties because we don't run any ads or anything on our ebooks. This is all completely organic. So, every $100 sort of every month just coming in like that is really going to boost your sales in the long run. But of course, this $2,780 in print royalties is where the money is at. And once again, we have 4 or 5 books that really stand out, with that top book here almost selling $1,000. So that book is doing insanely well. Now, that is the same book that was doing extremely well last month, and it's just picked up from there, and it's selling really well in the UK, in the US, and in Canada. And somehow Canada is actually outselling this book than in the US, which is really strange because this should be a book which is tied to the US. But we have another book here which has sold over $600. This is a book that's been on the account for a long time. It's been on the account since sort of March, I think, and it's finally starting to get some really, really good results. So that is nice to see. Now we have our third and fourth best-selling books. Now, these have once again been on the account for a long time. And so, as we've noticed on KDP, especially publishing on this new account, when you have to build your brand up a little bit more, so it does take books a little bit longer to start selling really well. So it's no surprise that some of the older books are still at the top of this and are starting to sell really, really well now, coming to their stride. These books sold $381, $347, so really doing great. I get to this fifth book, and this is a really new book. So this is published sort of the month before, and it's already done $152, or in the first proper month of its selling, which is really good to see. I'm excited to see how well that book is going to sell in the month of July and August. I think that hopefully should be sort of pushing in the $200-300 mark and joining the rest of those sort of top four selling books. And then if you look further down, we have the books that are still performing pretty well, but are not quite on the level of the others. If you think about it, we have 14 books and we sold about $2,900 in royalties. So the average book is selling $200. Anything under that, is below average, but that certainly doesn't mean that these books aren't selling well and that they're not like that they're still very, very worth publishing. Think about a book that does sort of $90, $100 a month. That book is going to do $1,200 over the course of the year, not even accounting for Q4. Accounting for Q4, that book is probably going to do $2,500, $3,000 over the course of the year. Now, that is an insanely good return on your sort of 30, 40 hour investment that you put in. So that shows just how important it is to really build up your bookshelf and try and get as many books on there, because these regular sellers doing $50 to $100 a month, it may not sound like that much on its own, but they really build up and compound them together, and you start getting 5 or 10 of these books, and you're going to be making a lot of money over the course of a year. Now, here's the bottom 5 books, and as you can tell, we're also going to make books that don't perform that well. The top one doing $50 isn't bad, but the rest of them aren't doing very much here, sort of between $7 and $19. And one thing I will say about this book here, the third one down, is that it's actually the ebook version of one of the books that is selling really well. For some reason, KDP thinks that they're two separate books, but they're one on our bookshelf and everything, so we need to email them about that and just combine them together. So we have 4 books here, which are not doing particularly well, but that happens. You're not always going to have success with all of your books. There's no matter how much niche research you've done, how well you know KDP, there's always just going to be some books that simply don't sell as well. Now, one thing that we've really focused on in this account is to make good quality products, really put the time of doing editing, put the hours in and making sure everything looks good, everything is censored and all of that, so that people want to come back and buy more books in these series. And this will allow us to get more sales organically without spending money on ads. Now, the books have been on there for 6 months. So of course, this is enough time for quite a few reviews to start coming in. And luckily, these reviews have been great. Here are the reviews of our 5 best-selling books. As you can see here, we have 16 reviews at 5 stars, actually at 4.9 star there, and that is the book that is absolutely smashing it, doing $900+ for the last month. Here we have our next book here at 14 reviews. I think it's 4.6 stars. Once again, 14 reviews over 4.5 stars. So all of these books, our top 5 performing books, all doing extremely well, either sitting at 4.5 or at 5 stars, which is great. Now, that is definitely something that on my main account in the past I've had issues with, because I've always been sort of a rusher with books. I get excited, I want to get the books out. And that has meant in the past that I've sort of slacked on quality and editing. And then that really does come back to bite you in the future, because it means you're going to start getting a couple of bad reviews come in. And, just one-star review here and there where people write something really can have a massive detrimental effect on the sales of the book in the future. So one thing I've really learned over the last 3.5, 4 years of publishing is this so worth putting the time in to do your final checks, to do your editing, to make sure that the quality is there and people will give you nice reviews, and it will make you way more money in the long run. Now I'll show you our advertising for June. Here's the UK. I will say that for some reason it just wasn't translating from Spanish into English, and I have taken these screenshots from a Spanish-speaking country. So inversion means spend, and ventas means sales overall, and then of course ACOS is the same. So in the UK we spent £361, an ACOS of 22%. So as a great ACOS, it's around about the exact sort of range that we want to be. So that's absolutely perfect. Now comes the US, and this is the marketplace that we really have struggled with out of all of them so far. It's the biggest marketplace by far, and people nearly always make most of their sales to the US. But that has just not been the case for us. Most of our sales go to the UK, then the US and Canada come in sort of second and third, with the US marginally being ahead. But we did have a pretty good month of advertising in the US, spending about $300 at an ACOS of 31%. So that's an ACOS that is still slightly higher than we would like. But because we're really trying to break into the US market and starting to rank a little bit better, we're still happier to run slightly more aggressive ad campaigns at a slightly higher ACOS. And then hopefully when the bestseller ranks do start to come down a little bit more, that's when we can start to lower the bids and hopefully get an ACOS around about the sort of 25%. Now comes Canada. We spent 106 Canadian dollars there, and we had an ACOS of about 18%. This is a little higher ACOS than I would actually like in Canada, even though 18% is still fantastic. But that's because we had one new book that we really weren't aggressive on the ads in Canada, and I think it had an ACOS of about 50%. So that accounts for most of the high ACOS, and the rest of the books, I think without that book, it'd be about 10%. So the Canada ads still performing absolutely great, and we've tweaked the bids on the new book for Canada, so hopefully the ACOS is much better for July. And then we have Australia, which is always the best ACOS by a mile. You literally can't go wrong advertising in Australia. People love buying books there, and basically no one is advertising. So we spend 39 Australian dollars at an ACOS of 7%. So absolutely insane ACOS, loads of profit on these ads. Always preach you should absolutely advertise in Australia and Canada. So this brings us to the most important part of the video and what everyone is interested in, and that is of course the total profit. It's all well and good telling people royalties, and so many publishers just tell people their royalties and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is what is important. What is your actual take home? So our royalties, as we said, was $2,884, and our ad spend, including the 20% VAT. So what we've done is we've added all of the advertising costs together, converted them all to US dollars, and then times by 1.2 is $1,056.52, which means that the total profit is $1,827.69. Overall, really happy with this ad spend and this total profit. To be honest, anything under having an ad spend of under about 40% of your overall royalties is really good. As you can see, our ad spend here is probably about 35% of overall royalties. So that's a great place to be sitting at. I think that means we're spending just the right amount of money on ads and really maximizing our profit in the long run. And our profit of over $1,800 is absolutely fantastic and way more than last month. And the beauty of this, of course, as you all know, is that this is a passive income. So we can just stop right now. And then next month, we're going to be making $1,800+. And then the month after that. So thanks for watching the video, guys. And I hope you've been enjoying the 0 to 100K series so far. So we've done Q1 and Q2 so far. So that is sort of the most boring months of the year. And it's kind of when we've been building this account up to try and get some decent royalties, which we're finally at. We've got the exciting months of Q3 and then, of course, Q4 coming up. Now, Q3 is looking really good for us work-wise. I think we're going to be able to get a lot of hours in. We're going to be able to get a lot of new books out, hopefully, and then start to get some crazy results over Q4 where the sales just absolutely go nuts.